I've never found street preachers to be particularly credible, but let's take a look at one of the Cleveland variety, which not only isn't credible, they're hardly even sane. Are we all possessed by demons? Let's find out. There's one good thing about YouTube, and that's the fact that they recommend tons and tons of videos that fall right into my wheelhouse. This time, I take a look at a video by someone calling themselves Cleveland street preachers on something they refer to as demonic atheism. Of course, atheists don't believe in demons, so the whole thing is infantile, but what can you expect? Anyway, let's see what this street preacher has to say, and why religion is just a cover for insanity.
With anybody, they can easily make a video on the computer or post anything on the internet, whatever they want.
You mean what you're doing? Yes, it is easy for anyone to make a video about any crazy nonsense they can come up with and put it on YouTube. Hey, just look in the mirror.
There's so much information being passed around right now, and some of the biggest information being passed by atheists is against God and against the Bible, is against Jesus.
Mostly because there's no evidence for God, and the Bible is a load of ridiculously unsupported nonsense. While I can't speak for anyone else, all I'm doing is debunking irrational beliefs and telling the truth. You seem to have a problem with that.
But I just had a very good conversation with a very reliable source, who's a very dear friend of mine who is working in a very special occupation.
Why does that sound like you think you have a gorgeous Canadian girlfriend that no one has ever seen? Oh yeah, it's all hush-hush and super secret. A source that I'm sure you won't name and certainly won't validate why their opinion has any value.
People don't know about Satanism.
They know about as much about Satanism as they know about Christianity. It's all made-up garbage.
Atheists have no clue about true Satanism.
That's because there's no such thing. Oh sure, you get claims of Satanism from the religious wingnuts. Remember the whole satanic panic nonsense from the 80s? It was just chicken little Christians running around like their heads were cut off, squawking about things that weren't real, just like their own beliefs. I bet Mr. Street Preacher here takes it all pretty seriously though, doesn't he?
I'm talking real Satanism. And a lot of Christians don't even know about true Satanism, and a lot of Muslims, and a lot of people don't really know about true Satanism.
Prove that this so-called true Satanism is real. Present evidence. Do something but making a silly video on YouTube that I'll just make fun of. Will you? Of course not.
But I want to specifically call out the atheists. If there's any atheists out there, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
I don't see atheists calling out true Satanism.
When you can prove that true Satanism is real, we'd be happy to. Where's your evidence? Oh, wait.
I'm not talking about the Satanism that's disguised as atheism, but they don't really believe in an afterlife. They're truly atheists. They just believe in the ideologies of Lucifer, but they don't actually act out on any of the horrible things.
That those people exist? Well, that's absolutely true. There are insane people that do believe in Satan, just like there are insane people who believe in God. Now, when are you going to get to this true Satanism, the kind with the evidence-based and demonstrably true Satan behind it? Because I suspect that we're going to be waiting for a very, very long time for you to do anything like that.
No, that's a lie. If you go digging deeper and you find people that used to be in the cult, people with real testimonies, people with real life stories that used to be Satanists, you will see that is a horrible, nasty religion with many different denominational beliefs.
Just because you can find crazy people who believe a thing, that doesn't make that thing true. I mean, I can find all kinds of Christians who beat their children, who deny their children medical treatment, who kill other people, all because they believe that this imaginary man in the sky told them to. Certainly, the evils done in the name of God are very real. that doesn't mean that there's a God.
So atheists talk horrible against religion. How come I never hear atheists talking against Satanism?
Because Satanists have effectively zero impact on society, something that cannot be said for Christianity. But no, I'm sure he has another explanation. Let's watch.
You know why, atheists? You have demons inside of you.
Yeah. Excuse me while I slowly back away and call those nice men with the white coats that tie in the back. Clearly, someone has escaped.
That don't want you to know the truth about how the kingdom of hell works here on this earth.
When do you think you're going to come up with any evidence for any of this? Never? Wow, color me shocked. But then again, the retarded religious mindset is to just make claims and pretend as though any of it is true and hope no one asks any questions.
That's true. There's demons all over working in Satanists, real Satanism. I'm talking real disgusting things happening, real child sacrifice happening, real people called breeders. Look up what a breeder is in Satanism. Look up a breeder, atheists. Look up a breeder, Muslims. Look it up.
A breeder is a gay dismissive term for straight people. Now, yes, I know these claims came up during the aforementioned satanic panic, but it has never once been shown to have actually taken place. In fact, the only reported case is that of Laurel Stratton, who claimed in the book Satan's Underground that she was held captive by a satanic cult and forced to have babies for sacrifice. And the whole thing turned out to be a complete fabrication. Stratton was an attention whore with a long record of lying to the press. She also claimed to have been in a lesbian relationship with Virginia McMartin and the whole nonsensical McMartin preschool charges. She also, under a pseudonym, pretended to be a Nazi Holocaust survivor and collected thousands of dollars in charity. None of the things she ever claimed ever actually happened.
You want to attack a religion? You want to attack the God of the Bible? Why don't you attack the devil?
I attack every irrational belief, but primarily the most destructive religions, and that tends to be Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, at least in the West, because they are the most visibly and demonstrably dangerous. Now, if you can prove that there's a large active movement of Satanists out there that are influencing the government and being given special treatment in society, hey, I'll be totally on board with that, and I'll be more than happy to go after them. Let me know when you can show any of that, won't you?
Why don't you attack Satan? Because he's real.
Evidence needed. That's as ridiculous as saying, why don't you attack the flying spaghetti monster? He's real! Prove it! Your asinine beliefs mean nothing to me. Evidence, or it's not real.
And people are worshiping him, and people are listening to him, and people are having demons possessing them so they can continue to do these sick, nasty things.
I'm dialing 1-800-YOU'RE-CRAZY. But really, this is exactly why the religious are such a laughingstock. Because they really believe this ridiculous nonsense. They think all of these imaginary friends and enemies are real. Christians, take note. This is one of the reasons that people are flooding out of your churches. Because lunatics like this are giving you a bad name. And I know this idiot doesn't care. He's clearly taken leave of all of his rational faculties. But maybe some of the more reasonable theists can learn something from his abject stupidity.
Go ahead. Look up the true Black Mass. Look up these things. In fact, don't just look them up. Go out there and find people that used to be Satanists. Go to churches and talk to people. Ask the church members, do you know anybody here who used to be a real true Satanist?
Talk is cheap. Where's your evidence? I'm sure they don't have any. And I don't care about unsupported claims. I care about objectively demonstrable evidence. Prove that any of this actually happened. Go ahead. Don't tell us to go find out. You've got a YouTube channel. Produce your evidence. We'll wait.
I have met few over my life. I've met a few over my life. And I'll tell you what. 2 of them were almost killed by Satanists. These people are they're disgusting human beings, Satanists. Why don't you, all you atheists, get angry with them?
Because there's still no evidence that they exist in any sizable numbers. You have a perfect opportunity here to prove that any of this garbage that you're spouting is real. You just don't care because it gets in the way of your emotionally comforting faith.
Why do you get angry at the God of the Bible? Why don't you talk nasty against the devil? You know why?
There are no devils, just like there are no gods. I'm just making fun of the delusional, a camp in which you definitely belong. Folks, this is what happens when the insane are so insane that they can't even see their own insanity. These people need serious, professional, psychological help.
Jesus says, Beelzebub cannot cast out Beelzebub. In other words, a devil can't cast out a devil because a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. You can't rebuke the devil, atheists. You can rebuke God, whom you say doesn't exist, but you can't rebuke the devil.
Huh. Devil, I rebuke you. I guess that's all I can do. But like God, why would I bother rebuking an imaginary creature that I have no reason to think is real? If there's anyone who needs rebuking, it's the delusional morons who believe in these imaginary friends. And if you could prove that there were any true Satanists out there, I'd criticize them too.
Because there's devils inside of you that won't move your lips to do it.
I wish there was a sound for the level of facepalm I'm currently doing, but I guess this will have to suffice.
But yet the demons will manifest through you and speak against Almighty God, and you'll intentionally misunderstand what God says here. You'll misunderstand His Old Testament laws intentionally because the demons inside your brain don't want you to know the truth.
Sorry, pal, but truth and nebulous batshit insane things that are going on in your head, those are not the same thing.
The demons inside of you have got you locked up. You can't even find the truth. Jesus says the truth shall set you free. By the way, Jesus is against slavery.
Really? That came right out of the blue, didn't it? So, where is a single passage in the Bible where Jesus said not to own other people as property? I think that appears in Big Book of Bullshit 11:4, right?
Jesus says, he who sins is a slave of sin. Jesus condemns sin. And then Jesus says, the truth shall set you free.
Which says nothing at all about slavery. In fact, Jesus never said a word about slavery in the entire New Testament. He certainly didn't seem to be all that concerned with it, did he?
Atheists, you love sin, which means you're slave promoters.
What? First off, I don't love sin. I don't even accept that sin exists, since in order for something to be a sin, it must be a transgression against divine law, and since I see no reason to think the divine exists at all, sin is just wishful thinking on your part. I'm hardly a slave, that would be you, considering the many parts of the Bible that claim that Christians have a master. You've got something seriously wrong with you.
You're for slavery, according to the definition of Jesus.
Traditionally, that's been Christians. The whole of the American slave trade was pushed by, supported by, and ultimately permitted by Christians. Even in the modern day, every single solitary slave-owning culture out there is religious. You can't find a single secular nation that permits slavery. Not one. I'm starting to think that delusional is too weak a word for this Looney Tune.
He rose from the dead. He proved everything is true. What can you prove? Nothing.
What can you prove? Nothing. Not a damn thing about any of those claims that you just tossed out. Not only is this guy delusional, he's hypocritical. Maybe I should just let the video play. He's doing a lot more damage to his own nonsensical beliefs than I ever could.
How many scientists raised themselves from the dead?
When did you prove that Jesus did that again? Oh, that's right, you didn't. That's right. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
0. Do you understand that math? It's pretty simple.
You have nothing, and you're pretending that others who don't even make the claims that you're asserting are wrong because you've got bupkis, and they're not even pretending to be on the same short bus with you. Yeah, that's pretty simple.
0. 0 scientists raised themselves from the dead after 3 days. That's a fact.
And where have any of them claimed that they did? Citation needed. You're so full of bullcrap that I can smell it way the hell over here.
So why don't you get mad at Satanism? demonic activity happening in your neighborhood that you have no idea goes on.
If we have no idea that it goes on, why would we get mad at it? Now that you claim that it goes on, how do you know? Where did you get your information? How did you test it to see if it was valid? And the answer is, you didn't. You don't care. It just feels good to claim it, so you just make it all up and you spread your BS and you expect people to take you seriously. This guy has CNN levels of fake news. He's the lead reporter on the Christian Nonsense Network.
Discussing drug activity, satanic worship, demonic possession, child sacrifice, human sacrifice in general, baby aborting breeders.
All nonsense until you can prove they are real. Get to work.
Black masses, witchcraft, spellcasting, all of these things. And it's supernatural.
Really? And how did you come to that conclusion, Einstein?
And science doesn't have these answers. You know why? Science rejects demons, because the answer is that it's demons doing it.
Because science doesn't buy into your unsupported religious mumbo-jumbo.
Why don't you get mad at Satanism, atheists? Start attacking the devil. Stop attacking the Almighty God. Start attacking the real, true, nasty, misogynist, murdering, rapist, slave-promoting, evil person. It's Satan. It's not Almighty God.
Actually, it's people like you. It's the religious lunatics who can't grasp reality, so they invent imaginary evils to supplement their imaginary friends. All to keep from taking any responsibility for their own pathetic lives. And that's really what all of this is. I'm not responsible, the devil made me do it. When other people do things that they don't like, the devil made them do it too. It really just removes any conceivable agency from humanity, where things are little more than gods fighting it out for supremacy over weak and vulnerable human beings. There is something really fundamentally immature when dealing with people like this. As George Carlin once said, "My God has a bigger dick than your God." It's little more than a dick-waving contest, except they're not waving their own dicks. And the more they get into these irrational beliefs, the less sane they get. They don't want responsibility for their own lives. They want to blame gods and devils for everything that happens. It turns into some us versus them lunacy. If you're not a slave to my God, then you're a slave to my devil. Sorry, Buttercup, I'm not a slave to anyone. I'm not religious. Unlike you, I'm sane.